The art of intimacy. I did not want to make a video today this entire week. My nervous system feels like it isn't regulating itself properly. And I feel like that's due to all of the internal self induced stress that I've put on myself lately. I'm going to talk about how I demotivate myself a lot of the time because I let harsh reminders or rude reminders around me in my environment that I see online sometimes get in the way of how I make everything intimate. And I've been accustomed to a life where intimacy in every aspect of what I do, in every relationship that I form, has been a norm. When it comes to doing anything, I do my best at it. I try to put my best foot forward in order to reflect how much of an invested person I am in anything that I do. It's just how I've been raised. I've been blessed enough to be surrounded by people specifically that embody the art of intimacy, and they treat it as a symbiotic, mutually beneficial relationship for the both of us because someone can be the most raw and unedited version of themselves, and you still love them for exactly who they are, and you embrace exactly who they currently are and who they want to be is one of the most powerful forms of love that I've ever experienced in my life. And entering my 20s, I have never experienced love outside of my platonic and family related relationships. Because if I can compare the love and the art of intimacy that I've had within my inner circle, it brings me to tears because it's frustrating to me that I've allowed myself to try and play a game of comparison with the love that I felt in my platonic and family related relationships versus my plethora of failed whatever that was. We're not going to say the word here because I want to actually go into my 20s focusing on success, money, and dependence. I think it's really hard for me to talk about this because I demotivate myself a lot. I like to put on a front about how I motivate myself and I tell myself all these things that I'm sure you've seen by my channel. That's me doing my best to keep up with my demanding hunger for the best in life. And that's the only way I've known how to do that. And it's a reflection of a literal iota of my personality in terms of how intimate I get about something. And that's something that I'm referring to that this channel was kind of embodied by was the whole self-help. And as much as I hate self-help, I release content to go against self-help by still being self-help. I feel like the content I'm releasing this is new age self-help that isn't the self-help that feels like it's invalidating your current situation. And there's been a lot happening recently that I don't feel the need to talk about because I will deal with it in my own due time. But it's good for me to sit with it and acknowledge it because there's no reason to invalidate who I am currently. And this brings me to a prayer by Tracee Ellis Ross. And this prayer goes, may the space between where I currently am and where I want to be inspire me. This, for me, embodies the fact that you don't ever have to invalidate who you are currently, what you're going through currently, your circumstances currently. Because the moment you start using positive affirmations as a a device to alleviate and fix everything in your life. The whole I am clan, the I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am successful. It's okay to just be none of those things in the moment. Start exactly where you are. Because if I can say anything, it's that as much as I go on to preach, I feel like I've become a preacher of sorts that just says stuff. And I take it back if I've ever used the I ams in this channel because I refuse to fall part of that cult. It's just the fact that I have always, no matter what I've done in my life, I've always given myself a bit of grace. I know people, especially my family and friends, they always tell me you're going so hard, but we see your work ethic and we trust your process. It sometimes made me feel like I was doing a lot to achieve what I wanted to achieve, but I knew exactly how far to push myself. And I had this habit of allowing myself to sit back, look at what's happened currently, and use my circumstances in a feasible and pragmatic way that wouldn't invalidate where I currently am, but it still allowed me to reel in the future Xander that I imagine myself being. Because if there's one thing that I've been blessed with, it's the art of being a hustler in life. I was never given anything easy. If I can tell you a story about anything in my life that I've achieved, that I've attained, that I don't even know what more of a verb to use. I have never had an easy life. And I can get really deep about my life, but I choose not to because it doesn't define me. I used it when I needed to in the moment when I was going through it to remind myself that wouldn't it be so crazy if you use this exact situation to get out of the situation and you look back and you're like, wow, I was really in the pits, but I'm out now. And that for me is the beauty of intimacy. Being intimate with the most disgusting, horrifying reality that you're facing currently and letting it not override your morals, your belief system, the person that you've built up to this point. Because don't ever, ever let anyone or anything stop you from being intimate with everything in your life. Let that intimacy bleed throughout every aspect of your life because once you allow yourself to be unfazed by any sort of judgment or concern that may come from others, you become a person who is a threat to others because your success is so imminent that it's quite inevitable that it cannot happen. I digress. May the space between where I am and where I want to be inspire me. Tracee Ellis Ross describes this prayer as something that rejects the I am positive affirmation culture, or rather cult. And she rather embraces sort of a gentle invitation known as the may I's. May I let the space between where I am and where I want to be inspire me. Not I am 1 2 1 2 1 2. No. You're addressing the situation in its entirety. You allowing every part of your current reality and your perceived reality to fuse together and work in a way that allows you to be you, allows you to get intimate with every part of it and not neglect the negative and think that the negative is going to fix itself. You can't get from A to B without having dealt with your trauma, with your issues, with your plights in life that you're currently going through because your past, yeah, let's just say it's not a competitor. This is not the Olympics. It will catch up with you. Why the may I's work is because it allows you to envision where you want to be while still honoring where you are currently. But I opened this note because while I was talking, this is what I was kind of heading towards subconsciously. So much for not preparing anything. But I'm gonna kind of end the video here because I want it to be personal. I feel like I've made good progress in terms of speaking from my heart to you guys because I don't want it to feel like I rehearse things and I post it on the internet. I do it because I'm putting myself out there because this for me feels like healing. This for me feels like I'm becoming the person that I envision myself to be. And I'm actually dealing with my emotions, my thoughts, and my fluctuations in a way that allows me to bring in future Xander by still addressing, honoring, and dealing with current Xander. So thank you for tuning in again. At a point, I was about to cry. I'm just glad I did it. But I really hope this meant something to someone. Just don't be afraid to be intimate. Don't let dumbasses stop you from being a lot, being extra, being exactly who you are. Because being crazy never hurt anyone. If anything, it made people uncomfortable around you. But where are those people going to be in the next 5 years? Would you even remember them? I know Alex Constani doesn't. Push through, be intimate, and be exactly who you are because you deserve nothing less.